That was a wild one in week 2. The Colts, with a gift from the heavens, take that one. They are 2-0. They are in great, great standing. I know it's 2 weeks into the NFL season, but you take a look at the AFC standings and who's winless and, hell, who's undefeated. Obviously, the Joe Burrow injury news, and the Colts right now are in about as great a position as you could have asked for 2 weeks into this NFL season. Welcome back, Colts Corner with myself, Kevin Bowen. Eddie Garrison is across the way. Eddie, good morning to you.
Good morning. Suck it, Kevin. I got one right and you got one wrong on the game predictions finally.
Yes. I was like, gosh, where's he going with this one? Yeah, I guess I did pick Denver, did I not?
Yeah. Because normally it's me getting them wrong whenever we go the opposite way.
Got it. Did you go Miami week 1?
I did.
Did you? Okay. Yeah, I think it was 19-16, which definitely not that low scoring. I guess the margin was looking good there for a while, but yes, it was the Broncos with the ultimate leverage penalty there that proved to be such a big, big deal in deciding this one. What a roller coaster. I thought one of the livelier atmospheres Lucas Oil Stadium's had in quite a while. Just obviously an entertaining game. And, something we probably haven't talked about a ton, but, through 2 weeks, the Colts are 2-0. Just so vital that this team starts to gain control of home field again. They hadn't been, since their last playoff appearance, they've been, I think it was coming into this season, I want to say it was 4 games under 500 at home in the last 4 years. Even with Steichen, they've been kind of a 500 team at home, and you just can't live with that. You got to be better than that if you're going to make January football realistic, and the Colts are that. I saw some people mention yesterday, it's a little bit of the reverse of the bad whistle the Colts got at the end of that Browns game in 2023. It's probably funny if we would have done a poll at maybe halftime of that game, what the officiating looked like versus the end of the game. Really, because I thought some of the, positive whistles for the Colts started to happen there when J.K. Dobbins had that spike late in the game. Dobbins has the spike and then the face mask penalty, and now they're behind the chains. And, if that doesn't happen, maybe you don't even get to the end there. But a ton to get to, what I liked, what I didn't like, Eddie. And the Colts are 2-0 for the first time since 2009. On the,
I believe Matt Taylor said this on his Taylor Tidbits with you and Kevin, or not, you are Kevin, Jeff and James and Mark on Friday. It was the first time since, 1960 that they were 2-0 with both of their games coming at home.
Right. Which, again, you have to have the wrinkle in the schedule where you get the 2 home games, but yeah, I mean, it's been quite some time. And again, we're recording this on Monday morning, so obviously Chargers, Raiders still to be decided tonight. We'll see if Houston gets their first win, but you're looking at 5, maybe 6 winless teams in the AFC. The only undefeated team, again, Chargers or Raiders will be undefeated. Obviously Buffalo, Cincinnati going to be without Burrow for multiple months. It's hard to have drawn up a better 2-week start to the season. And, a lot of it comes, and again, we might be over, looking into schedules too much, but Pittsburgh loses to an NFC team. Houston week 1 loses to an NFC team. When you get those cross-conference matchups, that's where you can kind of sneak some games out there, and the Colts have also benefited from that here while doing their own thing. And it might be a little thing, and we'll see how today plays out, Eddie, but I don't think any player left the game due to injury. I don't even know if I saw a Colts player go into the medical tent yesterday.
Did Nelson
go
in the medical tent? I know he left for a moment.
He was mad that he had to come out for a play even. So, yeah, that is obviously a big, big positive. And, we'll see. Of course, Mooney Ward, went into protocol after the week 1 game. But nonetheless, just an absolutely wild one yesterday with the finish really unlike any other.
Colts offense, KB's in rare air. They made history. 10 consecutive drives with the score. 3 more to start the game yesterday after the 7 in week 1. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it is truly remarkable what they've done in moving the football here offensively. And I guess I should just start there in what I liked, because to me, obviously, it's pretty clear that so much of that revolves Daniel Jones' quarterbacking right now. And frankly, I've been blown away by what he has shown through 2 weeks. And I thought this was a step up in competition. And I thought he would get tested. And I thought really the opening drive showed you so much. That first pass play, he's got a muddy pocket. He's got guys at his feet. And he hangs in there and delivers one to Josh Downs in the crosser. Later in the drive, perfect ball placement on an out pattern to Downs where only Downs can catch it. Later, he's rolling to his left. Nick Benito's in his face. He delivers one to Michael Pittman Jr. Like, those 3 throws were some big league Sunday throws, again, under duress, which he really didn't have to operate under much duress at all.
No.
Week 1.
And then, like, the subtlety of what he did on the 3rd down to hit Pierce as well. I think Trent Green highlighted on TV, Kev, it was that Benito, I think it was Benito, beat Ryman off the edge.
Yeah, the blind side.
Yeah, and he kind of felt it, so he, takes 2 steps to his right to buy some time to let Pierce get open across the middle of the field through the mesh route, and he was able to hit him for the first down to set up that, the game-winning field goal eventually.
Yeah, I think at times you see quarterbacks leave a franchise, try to resurrect their career elsewhere, and a question is the scar tissue truly healed? Can you heal the scars? Or is the quarterback broken, for lack of a better term? And like, you watch Daniel Jones quarterback, there's nothing about it that looks broken from a mental standpoint. He hangs in pockets. He's not afraid to take chances down the field.
Mm-mm.
Like, those are all things that I think you're curious about, you're hesitant about, you're nervous about when it comes to, guys trying to do what Daniel Jones is doing. And for me, Eddie,
I go back to like that conversation you guys had in the morning with Tyrone Tracy. Like and you guys flat out asked him, like, do you think Daniel still has what it takes to be a franchise quarterback? And he said, yeah, it just didn't work out in New York because he lost confidence in himself, and he felt like the organization lost confidence in Daniel Jones. And then Jordan Schultz was on Querying Company with us leading up to that week 1 game, and he mentioned that he hasn't seen Daniel this relaxed, confident, or just overall comfortable going into a game like he did last week, and you could kind of see it come out on the field again.
Kind of like the Kurt Cignetti Bloomington vibes. Like, IU football program needed someone to just have an absolute facelift in personality. And Cignetti has done that. And in a way, it's obviously not as demonstrative as Cignetti, but clearly this environment has served him well. And I mean, on the field and off the field. I mean, he couldn't be living in a different, more quaint area of town in Indy than he was in New York, the hustle and the bustle of it all. And then not to mention, the 10 guys and the play caller around him. So, for me with Jones, and again, Denver blitzed him a ton, and he hung in there. The fact that you have gotten this consistent of on-target throws from him, he has largely stayed away from turnover-worthy balls, and then lastly, he's taken the necessary chances. And to check all 3 of those boxes against a very legit defense in the Denver Broncos, to me, that's what stands out the most. I know so much of the Monday conversation, and we'll get to Shane Steichen in the end of the game at some point here. But to me, it shouldn't, like, the first thing that I think this game should tell you moving forward for the rest of the season is more about Daniel Jones. Like, yes, you might get into end-of-game situations, and yes, Shane Steichen might be put into another one, and yeah, we'll be curious about that. But that might happen, once or twice the rest of the year? In all likelihood, that same sort of situation is probably not going to happen too many times. Daniel Jones has got to play quarterback 15 more times. And for you to, again, got that level of play from him against that defense, huge. There was even a little thing when he threw that ball, that corner ball, I think it was to Ogletree. It might have been to Pittman on the comeback. And they called Surtain, I think it was. I think he could have whistled a couple guys for the pass interference. That is taking a chances on, down the field sort of throws there. So great work from Daniel Jones. The raw numbers, 23 of 34, 316. I think that tells a big story, but I think there's even a little bit more there with him.
First time over 300 yards passing since Christmas Eve in 2022 in a regular season game. Ironically, his last 3 games that he's done that, or last 2 games that he's passed over 300 yards were against Minnesota. Prior to yesterday, Jones 23 of 34, 316, 1 touchdown, and rushed for his 3rd rushing touchdown on the season. The number 2 item, and it's hard not to go, either way. You can pick, KB, which one you want to talk about, but Jonathan Taylor was fantastic yesterday, not just as running the football, but receiving as well. Had the touchdown and the big 43-yard screen pass, and then Tyler Warren continues to be such a focal point for this Colts offense, and he's opened up a lot of things that they can do moving forward.
Yeah, the reason why I grouped them together is because, Eddie, they played 66 snaps apiece on Sunday, and for those that aren't necessarily totally in tune with snap counts on a weekly basis, those are massive numbers for a running back and a tight end, particularly early in the season when you might pitch count it up a little bit more.
Especially for a rookie.
Like definitely. Must-have games late in the year, I can understand where you really go there. Let's start with Taylor. It was a lot of tough sledding for him, but he rips off that 68-yarder, and that could have been a tackle for loss easily. And I know a lot of people I thought Hufanga had a pretty good angle on him from the start. I'm not too worried about Jonathan Taylor's speed in the open field. I think he showed that on the touchdown catch and run, but it's more of you make that dude miss in the backfield and you turn -2 into 68.
Yeah.
That's special. Very, very special from him. So total, he had 27 touches for 215. So far he's been targeted, probably 4 or 5 times this season. No drops. That's been key as well. Obviously Denver just totally misidentified him a couple times in the pass game there. So just great work from Taylor in leaning on him so heavily. And then going to Warren. Again, 66 snaps, Eddie, to put that into perspective. That would have been the second highest tight end snap total of any player in the league last year.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see tight ends playing. And the Colts had, I think, 71 offensive snaps, 70 or 71. So, those are big percentages from him. And, you and I, or I guess it was just me, but we talked about it on last week's podcast. Would Patrick Surtain cover Tyler Warren at all?
He did a couple times. I did see that.
You saw that.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the ultimate compliment.
Did it on the opening drive in the red zone.
Yeah, it tells you what the NFL thinks of Tyler Warren already. So, that is incredible. That he has earned that already in the NFL. Over 70 yards again. Eddie, if he goes over 70 yards on Sunday, he'll be the first Colts tight end in franchise history to have done that. In his first 3, and again, I'm talking career. And the Colts have some Hall of Fame Pro Bowl tight ends that have put on such a uniform. And you saw the yards after catch. Obviously, that was a huge component of what he was able to do for you on Sunday. And I really think that is such a staple of kind of what his game is all about, and probably can be the biggest weapon. Is great, usage and drawn up there by Shane Steichen to have him line up at that fullback there. And obviously they had no chance in getting to in covering him. So huge day for him. I fully expect continued backfield usage, 4th and inches. I know Gonzalez kind of got blown up and the right side kind of got blown up there.
Mm-hmm.
The timing might have been a hair off, but they're going to do that more and more moving forward there. So what a start to his NFL career, and big time yesterday from Tyler Warren. And him and Taylor, I just thought deserved kind of their own little individual group mention.
When does Warren throw his first NFL pass? What's in the playbook somewhere.
Oh, it certainly is. Yep. And again, he's a southpaw, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it's coming. I think they're kind of setting up for it. We got the fullback dive week 1. Yesterday you had the 2 backs, flanking Jones. You gave it to him with, I think, an RPO look that could have been to Taylor. So, yeah, I think it's all a process with Warren and the variety of ways that you line them up.
Wide receiver snap counts, KB. I know some people may be wondering about that. Alec Pierce plays 64 to 71. Pittman 59. Downs 41. Ashton Doolin 10 snaps, and then A.D. Mitchell with 7 snaps. That was 10%. Of those 7 snaps, he was targeted 4 times, brought in 2 for 20 yards. Specifically with Josh Downs, I just felt like 6 for 51 didn't really, show the impact he had, because there were a couple of instances where it was like 2nd and long and he gets, 8-9 yards and makes it 3rd and manageable, or he was moving the chains on 3rd down for the Colts.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Yeah, I don't think 6 for 51 maybe tells the full story there with Downs. One thing about Mitchell too, and I felt this way last year, he's never been a big snap guy when everybody's healthy. But damn, they target him a lot when he is out on the field. They targeted him deep with Surtain in coverage. I think on maybe his first snap or his first couple snaps.
That was probably the one questionable throw of the day from Daniel because it was double covered. He had Surtain and the safety.
And, I should mention, too, and again, how much the ankle injury impact Patrick Surtain as the game moved along. But because he was hobbling big time. He was putting weight on that. Pittman and Pierce both had some big contested catches with him in coverage there late. Again, not the most eye-popping box score stuff, but just really, really important grabs for him.
Anything else to add on what you liked before we transition to what you did not like?
No, I feel like that covers it.
Cam Bynum being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, that was timely. And just, and hell, I felt it from my team on Saturday night. And I thought Todd Blackledge calling the Notre Dame game made a good point of this. Sometimes when you're the DB and you drop the interception, it's like the baseball analogy of the outfielder dropping the foul ball.
Yeah.
You give that batter one more chance. And like Bynum's case there, that was a great catch he had. Diving, gets his hands underneath it, secures it. If he drops that, is Will Lutz making that field goal. And I know Lutz missed one from 42, but that could have been an 8-point game at that point. And again, if you're the Colts, are you getting the touchdown and the 2-point conversion? It just, one more Denver field goal probably really does it after that. So, just a really, really important play from him there. But yeah, Spencer Shrader as well. Just the fact that operationally, he's 9 for 9. I get that, nothing's really been too long. 48 last week, 45 this week. But to have the resolve after the 60-yarder to come up there and make that big time there by Spencer Shrader.
Let's start there with what you did not like. The in-the-game management and just the complacency from Shane Steichen to be comfortable kicking a long field goal like that, considering what he went through last year with Matt Gay.
Yeah, I guess, should we get into the end-of-game situation here?
Yeah.
I guess, and I guess let me be clear here before we start with Steichen. Just so much you have to love about what he's done so far this season with Daniel Jones. So much from a play calling standpoint. And, when you are the head coach, you obviously wear that hat as well. And frankly, I can sit here and be like, living in the immediate aftermath of a 60-minute football game on Sunday afternoon, Shane Steichen got lucky. His actions, I think, contributed to the Colts losing that football game. He gets bailed out by a Denver penalty, I guess, too much aggression, frankly, on a 60-yard attempt. And now, for Carly Ursay-Gordon, it's probably more of a conversation for her. Does she purely evaluate this season, Eddie, off of black and white? Does it purely come down to the record? Or does she wear the headset for a reason? Why does she wear the headset? Because she wants to know process. If she didn't want to know process, she'd just sit up in the booth and watch the games happen and make decisions off of that. But she sits in meetings for a reason. She wears a headset for a reason. She is probably one of the more ingrained owners in the entire NFL, maybe across professional sports, because she cares about gray area.
Yeah.
She wants to know how the sausage is made. I guess I'm not trying to quote her father, but I guess I am there with that. She cares about that stuff. So I think that's important in evaluating Steichen in this situation. So with all that said, let's evaluate what happened there on the final drive. Shane Steichen, I guess, was afraid about Denver getting a kick return. And so therefore, he was super content with a long field goal. He was content at 58 yards. That's what it would have been had Taylor not lost 2 yards there on the final third down run. His rationale, his explanation makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
I agree with you.
I didn't get it in the moment. I didn't get it at all explaining it afterwards. It really is a total 180 of how he operates as a play caller.
Yeah.
He operates more on the aggression side. And I'll be curious if behind the scenes he says anything to his team. I think it could go a long way if he did say something, frankly, to some of those guys offensively that might be confused today of like, hey, we're so aggressive always. Why did we go into that mode there when Denver was showing 9-man boxes? Like, everything Denver showed you indicate don't run. Sometimes in those instances, teams give you a look and you're kind of like, well, it was too good to pass up. And the Colts also ran out of a lot of obvious run-heavy looks, a lot of tight ends on the field on that final drive as well, whereas it's like, what if you spread them out? What if you get a nickel? What if you maybe get a dime out on the field? Could you find something? And I think in those moments, too, there has to be a lot of head coach quarterback convo, too. And around the 2-minute warning, they can kind of help. There are timeouts where you can have more one-on-one combos with these guys where you're Eddie Garrison, the head coach. You can pull your quarterback aside and say, hey, we're going to run a bootleg here.
Mm-hmm.
We will take a 1 or 2 yard loss. Like, don't throw the ball away. We want to run clock. Obviously, ideally, we A, complete the pass. B, you'd scramble for a couple yards. But if worse comes to worse, just go down. And we will, take that. So, look, Spencer Shrader's got a leg. Obviously, the 60-yarder was short and right. It was not close to going in. But to be content with 58 in that situation is beyond head-scratching. Especially when Spencer Shrader, 48's the longest he's attempted in the NFL. And, a lot of the times these decisions come down to, okay, what's the risk?
Mm-hmm.
What's the gamble? For me, Eddie, go back to week 1. He went forward on 4th and short 3 different times in that game. The thought process there was score a touchdown. That's the risk. That's reward, I should say. That's the gamble. Expand the lead. Put Miami really away. All of that. To me, what's the risk in doing what he did there? You're afraid to defend a kickoff?
I guess.
You don't trust your defense to defend 70 yards with no timeouts and, 12 seconds to go? Like, to me, there's a lot more risk in the 58-yard attempt than having to throw out your kickoff unit. Defend that sort of field there. So I think that largely kind of decides kind of where I'm at with it. Will Lutz just missed 1 from 42. He's a very accomplished kicker. Being so content with the 58-yarder was just wild to me, frankly. So, yeah, I think that probably covers everything Steichen-wise. And now, big picture, the question again, for Carly Gordon becomes in evaluating. I think any job as a CEO is, yes, there are black and white numbers that matter a whole lot to you,
mm-hmm.
but you're also evaluating more than just that. And so if you're Carly now, is there any part of you that sits there and says, man, we got so freaking lucky. If what's his name doesn't do the leverage penalty, we're 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
Do you evaluate process and say, gosh, now that I think about it, wasn't that really dumb when he didn't put Jonathan Taylor on the field in the biggest play of the 2023 season late in the year? Wasn't that really dumb in the must-have game in Denver late last season when we ran a trick play with A.D. Mitchell, the least reliable player on our offense? And then yesterday. Again, you can look black and white and say, well, you won the game, sweep everything under the rug, everything's fine, it's all great. And obviously Shane Steichen does a ton of good for this team as a play caller. But in some of these end-of-game moments, there have been issues.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be the question I think as the CEO you have to have. Are these things repeatable? Are we seeing other issues? All of those.
Yeah, to the first point you made there about the Jonathan Taylor part of it, inexcusable, but I mean, you and I talked about this. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast or it was something I asked you on Korean Company, like Shane Steichen got them in those positions. Like, they're not in that position without Shane Steichen. I don't know how many other head coaches and offensive-minded guys would be able to have their team a game away from the playoffs with Gardner Minshew like he did.
Certainly. And that's what I think, again, makes the Steichen conversation difficult. He's what? 2 games over 500 as a head coach with, these quarterbacks that he's had.
Yeah.
And so, should he be tied at the hip with Chris Ballard? Part of me says no. Like, to me, the Steichen resume is much more in a positive light than the Ballard resume. But
what she has said, though, would go against what you just said,
right,
that they are going to be tied at the hip because they don't want the Pagano-Grigson thing all over again.
Again, these are big picture stuff. We don't have to, dwell on it too much on September 15th by any means. But I think that's what makes this Colts situation so fascinating. And again, one more big picture note before we move on, Eddie. in Carly's eyes, is the slate truly clean?
Right.
Or is it not? Are you still when you evaluate Ballard, is it 2025 or is it 8 years of history? For Steichen, same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Again, his history obviously is not dating back to 2017 as the head coach, but is it all clear? And with quarterback as well. So, yeah, those are just some big picture things.
In terms of what else you did not like, specifically with the defense, Xavier Howard, man, what a first half to forget.
Yeah, the 3 penalties in 5 plays. I was stunned that they did not, Miami, that is, did not pepper him with targets just to see where he was at. Denver got him just purely on targeting him without the penalties, too. They got him on several catches early in that game. So, yes, I was very, that was obviously, he looked like a 32-year-old, frankly. Now, the good news is Travarius Ward doesn't look like, his absence is going to be too long, which would obviously help out. But still, Howard's your third corner, which your third corner plays a big role in this game. The Colts went with Mekhi Blackman a lot as that third corner. So just some things to keep an eye on. The Colts didn't bench him. Louis Anarumo put his arm around him at one point. Even I think Mooney Ward went over there and did that. And, it's not like it was even Cortland Sutton really cooking you. It was a lot of other Denver guys that were doing that. So, largely defensively, Eddie, Howard kind of speaks for itself. But, boy, man, where is that playmaking from the defensive front? I mean, you just went through an NFL football game where Bo Nix threw it 30 times.
Mm-hmm.
I bet he scrambled a couple others, so let's call it 32 dropbacks. You didn't hit him or sack him one time?
No.
I mean, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. You
go through an NFL game and you don't do either of those things. And, you can't tell me that's all Latu. I mean, that's just, that's wild. To go through an NFL game without a hit, without a sack. I still have got some skepticism about the linebacker play as well. So, defense definitely had a regression to the mean there in week 2, and I think right now they rank 30th in yards per carry allowed, so that is something to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, Dobbins out of the backs got the bulk of the carries, 14 for 76. That's 5.4 and a touchdown. Did a nice job with R.J. Harvey, who's more explosive between the two, certainly. 5 carries for 8 yards, although it was only his second game into his NFL career, 1.6 average. What do you think overall of the secondary performance?
Yeah, I don't love it. I thought Nick Cross individually had a nice game.
Because they limited Sutton to 1 catch for 6 yards on 4 targets, but Troy Franklin, 8 for 89. He was the only one that had 3 or more receptions for a touchdown. Marvin Mims, 2 for 24 and a touchdown.
Yeah, I thought it was a poor day, I guess, if you want me to give a real answer for the pass defense. And again, no sacks, no hits, plays into it.
Yep.
You're not helping out your secondary much with that. I mean, Bo Nix's rating was, 111? I mean, that's got to be one of the highest that he's ever had in his career. So, and again, he had a nice day against Anarumo last year. So that definitely is, how much did you miss Ward, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I get that, but yeah, you would like to see more from a defensive standpoint. Before we get to, by the way, it's Spencer Shrader on our morning show. We'll throw that interview in here on the podcast before we get to Twitter questions. Penalties, we should mention, Eddie, is another thing I didn't like. 11 of them for the game. I believe that ties the most for the franchise since 2019. And, Howard obviously had the 3 and the 5 plays, but, you had 2 kickoff penalties.
Yeah.
One, just logistically lining up on the return, which, again, there's a formation that you must adhere to. And then Spencer Shrader's kind of struggled with kickoffs.
We have a question about that, so don't dive too much into that.
You had 2 penalties there. Obviously, Steichen got whistled for a penalty. Tyquan Lewis, I
missed the Steichen penalty because I was doing the Fever game. What was it?
Yeah, I think he was still mad about the challenge that wasn't overturned, and then Howard got a couple penalties after that.
The spot on the 3rd down that would have made it 4th or something?
Which, again, the NFL's kind of told us. I thought it was a bad call. The NFL's kind of told us, don't challenge spots. And to me, if I'm a coach, knowing how those challenges have gone, unless it is beyond obvious, I think you only challenge spots on fourth down.
I thought it was beyond obvious if you ask me, just from the angles that we saw.
I would
on
largely
TV.
agree. I didn't think they ever got us a great like down the line angle of it. But the NFL has told us don't challenge spots.
Right.
It's like almost impossible to overturn it. So unless the implications are literally a fourth down in the fourth quarter of a one possession game, that's one where you just got to swallow your pride and keep the red flag in there. Because even if the Colts stop them there, it's 4.5 yards.
Yeah.
Denver probably just goes forward and sneaks in and gets it. So, that is something as well. But yeah, again, penalties. It's never been really an issue under Steichen. Last year, I think they were the second least penalized team in the entire league. So I don't want to, overreact too much to it because I don't think it'll be the norm. But clearly, it played a role in yesterday's game. And again, go back to the Tyquan Lewis personal foul. Yeah,
that was unnecessary.
I get that you don't want to see that called, but yes, it's just unnecessary. A veteran in the league should know they're going to protect quarterbacks like that, particularly on their own sideline. And that's exactly what you saw there on that play. So, boy, the penalty roller coaster was wild yesterday. I mean, Denver had 8, and they probably had 2 or 3 that were declined. So they had just as many as Indy, and obviously they had the backbreaking one to end the game.
So the best part, KB, for us here at The Fan when the Colts win is the fact that we have the ability to have players on our shows today, Monday. The game-winning kick was made by Spencer Shrader, and he joined you, Jeff Rickard, and James Boyd this morning, correct?
Uber positive Spencer Shrader with several Indy ties. Let's head there right now. This is Spencer Shrader on the morning show with us.
Joining us now on the Payless Liquors Hotline, the man who authored that fine finish, Spencer Shrader. Good morning, Spencer. Welcome to Victory Monday, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Wow. Take me through the last sequence of events from lining up a 58, 59-yarder to getting another chance at 45 and the way that game is playing out at the end. What are you thinking about there? What's going through your mind?
Yeah, so it starts on the sideline, just staying as calm as possible and not trying to think about that being a big moment, but just treating it like another kick and going through my pre-kick process. Get out there for the 60-yarder and, gave it a good effort. The flag came out. There was some chaos there, and then it's about the mental reset, just getting ready for the next kick. Got to flush everything in the past and move on, and was able to do that, and ultimate trust in Luke and Rigo to get the job done and the rest of the guys to protect up front, and then saw it go through at the end of the day, and it was a real big blessing.
Spencer, congrats, and thanks for the time early on this Monday morning. Your last game-winning kick was when?
Last year, Kansas City Chiefs.
That's right. You kicked for them for one game, is that right, or multiple games?
2 games. First game was in Buffalo, and the second game was against the Panthers in Carolina.
Okay, and then did they carry you off the field with the Chiefs like they did yesterday? I thought they were going to carry you all the way home.
No, I think that was like the second or third game-winning kick for the Chiefs that year. It wasn't quite as exciting as yesterday. Yesterday was definitely a lot cooler, getting carried off the field like that.
Well, I will say this, Spencer. I had a chance to talk to you in the locker room after the game, and you were telling us about your faith and how much that means to you. But I've watched a lot of sports. God wears a lot of different jerseys sometimes. So were you appreciative that you got a little bit of good fortune there at the end? And in all seriousness, how does that kind of shape how you go about your business?
Oh, no doubt. And I think that's well said. I think you got to have faith through the highs and the lows. And so I prepared myself before, and I knew that God loved me no matter what, if I made the kick or not. But I know that he wants me to succeed, and that he already gave me the ability to go out there and perform at a high level. And so I had confidence in that. And so just getting to share that moment with the team, relying on your faith in that instance is a really big deal. And it kind of sets up some momentum moving forward, and just really excited that we were able to get a team win like that and that everyone's celebrating.
And again, I know God loves you, but the teammates, as I'm watching the post-game interview, obviously we were all surrounding you after the game, probably the most cameras you've seen at the NFL level as far as, post-game stardom goes. What was it like to have, so many of your guys interrupted that interview and show you some love? Because I couldn't keep track of how many guys are trying to, make some noises or get your attention or show you some love that typically, doesn't always come the kicker's way.
Oh, I know. That's so special, and I think it points to how special this team is. We just have a great culture here. It's very family-oriented, and everyone cares for each other. And, the success of one comes from the hard work of many. And so it's just me doing my part at the end of the day. And those guys are fighting the whole game. They're trying to make plays on offense and defense. And so everybody's excited, when I do well at the end of the game, but it's a complete team effort to get to that point. And you got to love each other and you got to trust each other to get to that point. And I think that's what came out as so evident, in the interviews after the game.
Talking to the game winner, the kicker, Spencer Shrader, who's had a terrific start to his Colts career here, and all through training camp. There was questions, there was competition coming in, and you just kept doing your thing and doing your thing. Has your confidence ever wavered, or does it grow through the things like training camp?
Yeah, I think your confidence definitely grows through training camp. I think it's finding the balance between confidence and humility, knowing that there's always something to work on and there's always something to improve on. But I think it's impossible to function at a high level if you're not confident in yourself. You have to have internal confidence and self-belief to perform, but you also have to have the humility to know that you're very far from perfect and there's a ton of ways that you can improve. And so I try to just approach it on a day-by-day basis and see how can I get better today, where can I improve. And then when it comes to kicking on Sundays, it's a game-by-game basis, just trying to perform for my team that day and then approaching the next week right to put myself in a position where I can succeed for the guys next to me. So the confidence is built from the hard work, and that's just such a consistent process that you have to approach every single day and be able to manage the highs and the lows.
Spencer, I remember you told us in the spring you felt like you could make one from 70. I'm curious, in a game setting, is that number that long, or how far do you think you can make one?
Yeah, it depends on the environment and how you're feeling pregame. I think the furthest that I made that pregame was 63. That from that distance, you just you have to really focus in. You have to hit a really clean ball. And you just have to be very calm in that instance. So I still feel good from distance, and that's something that I'll continue to work on my lines and everything. And it's more so not about leg strength, but just I guess calmness in that instance. You try to swing too fast, you get too chaotic, you're going to hit the ball. And so you just got to relax yourself, be calm, strike a clean ball, and then it'll carry. And so yes, I'm still confident from distance.
Spencer, I think some of our fans are familiar with your story. Obviously, you spent time here last year. Certainly your final year was at Notre Dame, the connection with Brian Mason, special teams coordinator there, a bit of a recruitment overlap. But could you share a little bit about your days growing up in Westfield? A little bit more on that front. It's not always been football through and through for you. So just maybe a little bit of your kind of Indiana-centric background for our audience that maybe isn't totally familiar with your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Westfield, right down the road, and I was a soccer player my whole life. And so I grew up playing at the Westfield soccer fields, the Carmel soccer fields, and traveling around the Midwest area, and just had an awesome childhood. Just really enjoyed growing up here in Indy. Never even thought about football. Football was never really a thing that my family was into, so it was just strictly soccer and a little bit of tennis and some other sports here and there. And then, loved growing up here, lived here till I was 13, and then moved out to Austin, Texas for a year, and then to Florida after that. And then was very, very excited to get the opportunity to come back here when I grad transferred to Notre Dame, because I still have so many great connections in Indy. So much of my family's from here. And so coming back for Notre Dame was such a special experience and really felt like a homecoming of sorts. And then to have the chance to sign with the Colts last year and stay in Indy was just a huge blessing. So many supportive influences off the field, just a lot of local guys that I grew up with that are just amazing to hang out with and really cool to see how they've grown and developed, and couldn't be more blessed to have the community that I have here. It's really special to play for a team that you grew up around and that you feel very connected to. I know a lot of guys don't have that privilege, in the NFL with the way that things work with being drafted and traded and signed to different teams. But for me to be here in Indy playing for a hometown team is something that means a lot to me.
You ready for the hard question, Spencer? The tough one?
Yeah, of course.
Are you the best professional athlete in your own household?
I'm doing my best to be. I think I'm the first person in the household to play a professional sport, but the reason I'm able to is because of all the hard work of people that came before me. And so I just feel like I'm doing my best to maximize my blessings just like the people before me, and feel blessed to be here.
Pretty uniquely wired cat, Eddie Garrison.
You got to be if you're a kicker in the NFL, right?
You definitely got to be. And that is Spencer Shrader there. So Didn't know too much about the Spencer Shrader story. Hopefully, got a little bit more into that. His wife, I believe, or maybe fiance, I don't know if they're officially married yet, is a U.S. women's soccer team player.
Oh, wow.
Player at Notre Dame. So you heard a reference there to his family. So some pretty good soccer genes potentially for the Shrader children one day down the road.
6 Twitter questions to get to, starting with Conroy. What the hell was even that? That was the question from Conroy, KB.
Boy, Eddie, I thought that was one of the wilder ones. I thought that was one of the wilder games. And, can you imagine being, a Notre Dame Denver Bronco fan?
You think there's a Notre Dame Denver Bronco fan out there?
I'm sure. Notre Dame's a pretty national brand. Maybe you're a fan of Mike McGlinchey. Maybe you're the starting left tackle for the Denver Broncos. I was going to say Estime, but I don't think he's on the team anymore. So,
no.
Eddie, I can't recall many times. I was a Notre Dame fan. The Bush Push is one of those games where I have been in a stadium and I've watched the opposing team celebrate a win, and it got taken away from them. Denver celebrated it. Denver thought they won the game. How many times do you actually get that where the other team celebrates it and then it says, wait a minute, there's a flag, and the other team wins the game?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just the delayed celebration where you end up getting the stop, but you literally had that. So what a game. You got leaping for Simeon Rice back in 2003 in the infamous Monday night game, and then you got the old leverage penalty.
What's leaping?
Last night. And again, as my mom would always say to me as I opened up a gift, particularly one from Grandma, Kevin, say thank you. I don't care if it's underwear. I don't care if it's socks. By the way, I just want socks. I just need more socks.
Really?
I've reached the point in my life where I'm content with socks as a present. Is that soft?
No.
That's all I want is socks.
Are you a culprit of the washer or the dryer zombie or whatever?
No, I'm not. I don't lose them. I just get holes in them, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be better. I told you I got big toe pain on the right foot. So
You and Joe Burrow both, except I think it's his left toe.
Yeah. Gosh, that sounds awful for Burrow.
David has a question about Shane Steichen. Would like to know your thoughts on the up and down play calling from Shane. Pass when you should maybe run, and vice versa when you run over and over when you should pass. Shane definitely got bailed out with the leverage call at the end there, in my opinion. Love the pod. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, David, again, I think Shane is a brilliant play caller. I've always been very impressed by him from an offensive standpoint. It's just some of the overall head coaching management that I'm like, oh boy. And weirdly there, he went so against his MO as a play caller. If he would have come out post-game, Eddie, and been like, hey, I was nervous about a hold, I was nervous about a sack, I was nervous about a negative play, I could kind of hear that. Now, again, you can counter that with a quick passing game, again, more of a bootleg action maybe to try and make sure the clock is still moving.
Heck, or even a screen.
Yeah, again, screen could, lead to a negative play. But yes,
well, so could have run, as we saw.
At times, it's like he toes the line the other way. And he didn't do any of that. So, some people will probably be like, you're being too critical of Steichen. Look, this is part of being a head coach in the NFL. Of you evaluate things on multiple levels. And there is so much good. But this game, this NFL game, it oftentimes comes down to 2-minute red zone. Red zone's probably another thing that the Colts need to work on. 2-minute red zone, third down, fourth quarter, all of that. And the game truly, when the 2-minute warning happened yesterday, Eddie, you literally were like, who's going to win this football game? How many times do you watch college football games and you don't get that? You truly get that in the NFL on a weekly basis. I didn't watch Dallas and New York yesterday, but that sounded like an unbelievable back and forth game. How about Jacksonville and Cincinnati? That sounded like a very similar game. So I think it's okay for us to sit here and say Shane Steichen got lucky.
Yeah. The Colts got lucky, yeah.
I also don't think Shane Steichen should be fired, I guess, if I have to clear that up. But there's been a couple of these end-of-game situations that if I were Carly Ursay-Gordon, I would just have a pulse on it. There's so much on the Steichen plate that you have to evaluate. So much on it. Him as a play caller, him as a quarterback developer, him as a head coach. he has just as much on his plate as any really head coach, I would say, in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
From an in-game, throughout the week standpoint. Obviously, the Anthony Richardson development is a little bit different now, but yeah.
Next question is from Raj. Holy bailout. Glad the Colts got the win, but can we talk about Spencer Shrader's leg strength, particularly when it comes to kickoffs? Can't tell if it's purely tactical or if he simply is struggling to put some mustard on those kicks. Super happy about the win, but I still have concerns about Shrader's leg strength. I may be wrong, but what are your thoughts? Love you guys and keep up the transcendent work. Transcendent. Wow, that's pretty complimentary there, Raj.
Definitely can't spell that. So, Raj, thank you for spelling that and sharing that with us here.
Aren't you an English major?
No. What was I? Sport communication print. I don't know. Some easy major that could get me into this field. Marketing minor, right? At Kelly, which sounds a lot better than it probably will ever matter for me. Yeah, the kickoff stuff is weird. I thought he struggled a little bit with it in week 1, too. So, yeah, the Colts have some questions right now, I think, kickoff-wise. Just how they're handling it. Both really kickoff and in the return game. I don't think they've blocked it up as well as they would have liked. I mean, we had Shrader again, and you heard it right there in his interview. I remember he said to us 70 in the spring. I mean, I remember him kicking a 64-yarder in practice. A lot of it, though, when you get into games, you kind of have to drive those longer kicks. Now, Shrader kicks the ball so high. I mean, I really can't recall a Colts kicker where the ball has had this much arc on it. Even Matt Gay, and I thought Gay had a fine leg. It was just more of the accuracy.
Yeah.
From 50-ish, which, that's what makes that 60-yarder. You saw it's so different. You try to kick it hard and it goes right, and then you try to kick it hard and it goes short. There's probably a little bit of a swing easy golf analogy to also kicking as an NFLer, but yeah, the Colts have, and I don't know, do you try Rigoberto on the kickoffs? I don't know. The Colts have some questions there and just how they utilize their special teams unit.
By the way, can we do the all-white more often, please? I love the all-white at home like it used to be.
I thought the whiteout
supposed to be.
I thought the whiteout had a good look. I know there was some orange sprinkled in there, but I thought it was a really lively atmosphere in there, and I don't say that too often about Colts games.
It's been that for the first 2 games of the year, which is nice to see that the fan base is getting behind this team again.
I know 4 o'clock, you get a little bit more lubed up throughout the day, but
more rested?
Yeah, well, that's one way to put it. But no, I thought it was a good atmosphere in there.
All right, we're halfway through Twitter questions. Josh is next. Why no Hawkeye system on the correct/incorrect first down call in the first half?
Yeah, Josh, that's a good question. So are we full on Hawkeye now? I mean, I know we're full on, here's the measurement, et cetera, et cetera. We don't need to bring out the chains. I mean, is there indeed a chip in the ball to truly show us where it is on the field? Or is it
I don't know.
Just a 10-yard indicator of what's first down and what's not? I was surprised by that, Josh. Again, the NFL has told us, don't challenge spots. To be fair, they have told us that. Right or wrong, they have told us that. And that one, it was just, Peyton didn't challenge one. I'm trying to think what Peyton didn't challenge in the first quarter or something he didn't challenge at all that I kind of thought to myself he could have. The other kind of sneaky play, it never really transpired. I was shocked that he declined that penalty to make it 4th and 2 in the fourth quarter. Like, that was an absolute, Steichen's going for that 10 times out of 10. And a couple other sneaky items from Sunday. I thought the Colts touchdown drive right before half was huge.
Yeah.
That was 21-13 Denver ball to start the third. That was a big-time touchdown drive. 81-yard drive the Colts had there. I mean, hell, Denver could have got the ball back late. And Denver also converted that big screen. Cameron Grown missed a tackle on 3rd and 15.
Yep.
That could have been huge. I thought the Pittman drop, I know maybe that wasn't Jones's precise placement, but still, Pittman, you had to settle for a field goal there. I thought those were a couple sneaky plays from the game.
Ferguson would like to know, you always talk about how you worry about the head coach being the play caller and running the sideline operations during the game. Ferguson felt like Shane Steichen was too focused on the clock, and which ended up with Spencer Shrader trying a 60-yard kick to win the game. I think you're on to a great point. Yeah,
and that's the big picture question for me. Again, is how I'm not going to pretend like I know Carly Ursay-Gordon super well, but the little that I do know of her, I think she's going to be I want to know the details. I want to know the process. I'm going to make my decision making off of that. Like, I've said this quite often. I don't think it's just a blanket statement. Boom, you make the playoffs and you're 9-8, 10-7. Everybody's coming back, and here are a bunch of contract extensions. Are you pretty close to the end of the Chris Ballard contract, by the way? Didn't him and Frank Reich both get extensions together?
I thought Ballard had one more year. I thought you said that a couple of weeks ago.
Through 26. Does that sound right?
I thought you said earlier, a couple pods ago, that he had one more year on his deal.
That would make sense there. But, again, this is something we just don't know about Carly. What does she want in a head coach? Is she more CEO?
Yep.
Or is she not?
Right.
That is just kind of an unknown that we have with her.
Final question is from Craig. How impressed or surprised are you with this offensive line given 2 starters departed? Denver had 1 sack and gave up 165 yards to Jonathan Taylor. Never imagined that they would play this well, and probably the main reason Dimes is playing so well.
Yeah, and first off, that 68-yarder, you got to give Taylor so much credit for that and creating that. But, yeah, the offensive line, that was the question for me kind of exiting week 1. I'm looking up here how many times Jones was hit. He was hit 5 times, sacked once yesterday. It's not terrible. 34 attempts. So, yeah. Is this unit for real? And Denver blitzed a ton, by all accounts. Blitzed a ton. And then for Jones to deliver from some of those muddy pockets early on, that is huge when you're talking about trying to project Jones moving forward. Because, again, some of the Jones evaluation points, well, what do you like under pressure? What do you like in 2 minute? What do you like in red zone? Now, frankly, Shane Steichen didn't give him a chance yesterday to really show himself in the final few minutes. He had the nice pass to Pierce, of course, that Eddie mentioned earlier, but that was it. Honestly, Eddie, there was a part of me that watched Shane Steichen call plays late in that game and thought, am I watching Frank Reich with Carson Wentz in 2021?
Right.
Like, that was kind of the level of protection that I thought was happening here. I was like, gosh, am I crossing the street with Max Bowen and it's a busy street here? That was a little bit of what I thought was going on there. But no, O-line through the first 2 weeks, certainly in pass protection, you got to give them close to an A, if not an A. And Taylor, for the most part, you take out the 68-yarder, 24 for just under. That's not too bad either. So, yeah, I think all in all, against that defense, you produced that. Very nice afternoon.
Unfortunate for your Irish on Saturday, KB, but Colts were able to somewhat, liven you up today.
Can I vent?
Absolutely. It's your podcast. You can do whatever
you want.
on
purpose? Did you wait till the end to ask about?
I didn't ask about anything.
Well,
I just made a statement.
I feel like you'd be a good therapist in your next life because I feel like you just kind of teed it up. That was a top 3 loss in my Notre Dame fandom.
Really? Top 3?
Top 3. Ohio State 2 years ago and Bush in 05. That was sickening. The drop snap, the 3rd and 16 hold, the 4th and 11, throw some floater up to the tight end who didn't even know it was coming towards him, and all of a sudden the ball appears out of the lights and he catches it. My heart was beating so damn hard on that final drive. I sat there and thought to myself, is this healthy? Should I be a sports fan? Should I stop this? Can I stop this? Is this impacting me as a husband? Is this impacting me as a father? Is this impacting me as a son? A brother? Actually, I think Ryan Bone and I are probably in the same boat, so maybe not as a brother. Yeah, other areas of my life. It's unbelievable how much I cared about that. And I'm sitting here right now, still pissed off. And you think it's funny?
No, I don't think it's funny. I'm just laughing at the fact that it still, makes you mad and it's Monday.
Honestly, Eddie, watching that game, I found myself more pissed at week 1. I thought to myself, you didn't give Jeremiah Love the ball in week 1, and he can look like that? Oh, CJ Carr can throw the ball down the field. Oh, that's great to see. That couldn't have been helpful at times in week 1?
Yeah. That defense is worrisome for me, KB.
Unbelievable. Yeah, if Chris Ash got his papers today, I wouldn't be. No, I haven't even brought up the holding penalty.
What holding penalty?
I mean, you're the one that brought it up to me before the show started. Just absolutely blatant.
I was trying to get you fired up for the pod, so that's what I was trying to do there.
The tackle of Donovan Heinisch. And usually I'm not ref guy. I'm not a big ref guy, but I'm like, all right, come on now. SEC officials with Greg Sankey in the building? What are we doing here?
By the way, did you watch any college football leading up to that game on Saturday?
I watched pretty much all of Georgia, Tennessee.
Did you watch Georgia Tech Clemson?
Yes.
By chance?
Oh, I love
my
that.
Gosh.
Dude, one of my favorite. Let me be very clear. I'm still really mad about Notre Dame, so don't think that my emotions are going to change here. But I will say my happiest moment on Saturday, outside of being with my family and hugging them and playing with them, I love nothing more than a college football underdog that has to do the fire drill leading to the game-winning field goal. Kid gets carried off the field. Student section takes the goalpost into the river.
Yeah,
Georgia Tech had it all. Fire drill, run the kicker on the field. I was explaining all to Maddie Bowen as it happened, and luckily she listened to me and really got into it. So I could feel her emotion as well watching the kid make the kick. Makes the kick, all the reaction. You have to do the overhead drone shot interview because so many people are on the field. You can't get the camera person on the field. I love it.
Did Dabo not have a timeout at the end there?
Are you thinking he should have iced him?
No, I'm thinking he should have called the timeout as soon as the play ended to give his team some time.
Got it.
Because if he misses that kick, you're pretty close to midfield, and you just need like 15, 20 yards.
Gotcha.
Clock stops to move the chains, and worst comes to worst, he makes the kick. You still have whatever it is, 16 seconds to
that's a good point.
Make a potential return or some crazy hook and ladder or whatever. You never know.
Yeah. That is a good point.
But the point that I was making up in that game, it was something that I wish that, they bring to either the NFL or more colleges do. It's the fact they let you in on those replays. You can hear what the replay center for the ACC was talking with the officials about.
I meant to mention that on our show this morning. I think that is a really nice transparency element that is needed. And, it's not earth-shattering stuff, but it's just a little peek behind the curtain.
Yeah.
And I think it's relatively innocent. He's Eddie Garrison. I'm Kevin Bowen. We'll be back. Colts 2-0, taking on the winless Titans. I want to say 3.5, 4, something like that, for the early line in that one. Colts Titans week 3. See ya.